Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tamha devam atma buddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye nishkalam nishkriyam shantam niravadyam niranjanam amritasya param setum dagathen dhanamivanalam Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya aviravirmayethi rudrayatte dakshinam mukham tena mam pahi nityam Om shanti 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 Om shakti samudra samuthatarangam darshita prema vijrumbhitarangam samshaya rakshasa nasha mahastram yami gurum sharanam bhavavaidyam advaya tattva samahita chittam projvala bhakti patavrita vrittam karma kalevaram adbhuta cheshtam yami gurum sharanam bhavavaidyam naradeva deva jaya jaya naradeva tam deshikendram paramam pavitram vishvasya palam Madhuram yatendram hitaya nrinam naramurtimantam viveka anandamaham namami এখানে উপস্থিত সমস্ত পূজনীয় মহারাজদের প্রণাম নিবেদন করে আমি ইংরেজিতে বলবো I offer my respectful salutations to all the senior revered Swamijis present here and my love and best wishes to all the brahmacharis and a large number of devotees who may be watching this on the YouTube thanks to technology. The previous speaker, Swami Krishnanathananda, has made my task very easy. He began by saying, it is very difficult to know the Swarupa, the real nature of Swami Vivekananda, and he added the rider for which Swami Vivekananda himself has to come again. So here there is a very interesting secret. With that I will start. Swami Vivekananda did not know his own nature and he was not made to know. Sriramakrishna said, the moment Narayan comes to know what his real nature is, he will not any longer live in this body and he will pass away in Mahasamadhi. So Sri Ramakrishna's main concern was to keep Swamiji at a plane in which he will not be able to know his own nature and make him ignorant of his real Swarupa so that he can work. This is a very strange phenomenon in the Nara Narayana Leela of Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda. Vedavyasa, the grand old sayer to whom we owe everything that is Indian spirituality, the legacy of Vedanta and the Vedas, he created two immortal characters in his Puranas, the Nararishi and the Narayana. Nara Narayana are two aspects of the same infinite, indivisible Satchidananda, Akhanda Chaitanya, and these through aspects dividing as it were the infinite indivisible were made to undergo eternal penance in Badarika Ashrama for the good of humanity. And the lore has it that these two incarnate in human form from age to age. Sambhavami yuge yuge, as Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in the Gita, this Sambhavami takes place along with Nararishi. When the Lord came as Sri Krishna, the Nararishi was Arjuna. When the Lord came as Ramachandra, the Nararishi was Mahavir Hanuman. And this time when he came as Sriramakrishna, the Nararishi was Swami Vivekananda. The relationship between the Naranarayana is extraordinary. And the Bhagavad Gita says that the dialogue between Nara and Narayana, Krishna Arjuna Samvada. So Swami Vivekananda was carefully guarded against realizing his own real nature. So much so, when he came for the first time to meet Sriramakrishna, as you know, Ramakrishna was overwhelmed with joy. He took him aside in that veranda, goal veranda as we call it, and with folded hands he said, Jani Prabhu, তুমি সেই পুরাতন নরঋষি জীবোদ্ধার করার জন্য মনুষ্য শরীর ধারণ করে এসেছো. I know, Lord, you are that ancient Nararishi. You have come now, incarnated yourself for the good of the world. Narayan immediately realized, I knew this man is mad, but I didn't know he was so mad. I am a son of Vishwanath Datta, and then he calls me Nararishi. What kind of understanding, I don't know. But still he found that he was absolutely normal. He was singing and talking. And Sri Ramakrishna knew it, and he was so careful to see that Vivekananda did not know it. This play between the Naranarayana always goes on. You can see the parallel in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is one text which Swami Premeshanandaji, it seems, used to say, it is the spiritual biography of Sri Ramakrishna. You can see how Arjuna is confused from beginning to end. Nayotsi iti govinda muktva tushnim babhuvaha, I will not fight. He threw away visrajya sasharam charam shoka sambigna manasaha. I will not do it. Vivekananda also said that. I want to get immersed in samadhi. And Sri Ramakrishna said, you have lots of things to do. Then he said, I will not teach. Narayan will teach people. Narayan shikha debe. Then he said, I can't do all that. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, tor hard korbe. You can see the Sanskrit translation of this, as it were, in the Bhagavad Gita. Yad ahankaram ashritya nayotsi iti manyase Mityesha vyavasayastve prakritistvam niyokshyati. Tor hard korbe. Your bones will do it. From the beginning, Sri Ramakrishna knew the real nature of Narayan, and Swami Sharadanandaji, the author of the magnum opus Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, says, the first occasion Sri Ramakrishna was desperate to give the highest truths of Nirvikalpa Samadhi to Narayan by a mere touch. The moment Sri Ramakrishna touched him, Narayan saw the entire world was vanishing into a void, and everybody completely getting lost in something which he did not know what, cried aloud, Ogo ki korcho, amar bap ma ache. Look at the statement. Sri Ramakrishna said, Egon thak, let it be so. Then Sri Ramakrishna got confused. Is it the Nararishi, or I am caught out of somebody else? Why does he react this way? He was reacting that way because Ramakrishna put that ignorance into him with great difficulty. Then took him aside to the garden house, put him into a deep trance, and asked him, he himself says, these are mystical, esoteric things which we do not understand, but it's good to remember how Sri Ramakrishna trained him. It's a great story, a saga, how Narendranath, who claimed to be the son of Vishwanath Datta and Bhuvaneshwari Devi, was transformed into Swami Vivekananda later on. It is not a transformation per se. He all the time was that, but he was made to forget on purpose. Otherwise he will cut the bond and simply run away, Sri Ramakrishna said. Then I put him into a deep trance and asked him several questions. Who is he? Where is he come from? How long will he stay in this world? Going deep into his own inner self. the recesses of his being, he gave appropriate answers. The answers which Ramakrishna expected of him. Then I knew he is the same person who I saw. What did he see? The well-known vision. These are things which you have to understand, but good to meditate on these. So Ramakrishna says, my mind went up and up and up. There is no up or down in spiritual life, in sadhana or in siddhi. But to express it in words, we have to use some imagery. Crossed over to all the regions and then saw the Deva-Devis, various gods and goddesses in the supreme realm of Devaloka or whatever. Then still further up, then where no names and forms were just possible, he saw 7 rishis deeply meditating in silence. And the whole place was luminous. And a portion of the light and the luminosity condensed in the form of a divine child. That child came, put the gentle arms on one of the rishis and said, I am going, you also should come. The rishi opened his eyes, gently smiled as it were, assenting to what the child said, and again got lost in samadhi. So Ramakrishna said, the moment I saw Naren, I could realize he is that rishi. And he said also, a portion of the mind and the body of the rishi came as Naren. If the whole rishi had come, I think the world would be shaken to its foundations. And then he said later on, that child was himself. So this is the Swarupa which Sri Ramakrishna was carefully guarding against, Naren knowing about it. The last stages of his life, Swamiji was making fun with everybody as he used to. And suddenly one of them asked, Swami, do you know your real nature? There's a hush of silence when Swamiji said, I know, yes, now. Then everybody knew Swamiji would not live long enough. And when this veil was lifted, then he said, if there had been another Vivekananda, he would know what this Vivekananda has done and who he is. Arekjon Vivekananda jodi thakto, তাহলে সে বুঝতে পারছো এই বিবেকানন্দ কি করে গেছে, কি দিয়ে গেছে. And being the inveterate optimist that he was, he never felt he is something special. This is one peculiar characteristic of Swami Vivekananda. He never thought he is somewhat special. He said, I am like everybody else. Although he was not like everybody, he somehow felt that I am not anybody special. Don't worship me. And he said, if somebody does arati before me, I'll become a ghost and break his neck. So the pujari in the temple, on the special days when he does arati, he has to be very, very careful. When will Swamiji come and break his neck? The idea being, do not put everybody on a high pedestal and say, which is very common with all of us, particularly in India, oh, he is so great, so extraordinary, how can we be like him? So let us worship, let us bow down and continue to be what we are. This is exactly what Swamiji did not want. Don't imitate me, but follow my teachings. Then he said, quoting from Bhavabhuti, somewhere, sometime, somebody will come from the disciples of Ramakrishna, the followers of Sriramakrishna, who will be like me and who will be able to understand me. Swamiji is one of the greatest sorrows, is my reading, is that he was not understood. Not being understood by others is a great sorrow which every one of us feels. Nobody understands me. Even a child also says, nobody understands me. You are scolding me unnecessarily. Why I did what I did, nobody is asking me. Swamiji said, how can anybody understand me? Utpatsyete mama kopi samana dharma alohyayam niravadhi vipulacha prithvi. Bhavabhuti says, somewhere somebody will rise who will be like me, because this world is so vast and the time is infinite as it were. Somewhere somebody will arise who will be like me and who will be able to understand me. Sriramakrishna, of course, understood him fully, totally, much more than Swamiji himself is given to understand. Holy Mother Sharada Devi, of course, she did. Of course, we do not know what Sharada Devi said about Swamiji. She spoke very little of Swamiji. It's very strange. When Swamiji passed away, what was the reaction of Mother is not recorded in detail anywhere. But she saw that great vision in this Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house, where she saw that Sriramakrishna was merging in the Ganges, and Swamiji from somewhere suddenly appeared, took the Ganges water and threw everywhere, sprinkled upon the whole civilization, and wherever the waters fell, a new civilization came up. Then she knew what is the purpose of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda's coming. Swamiji writes in the Inspired Talks, he spoke there, the mild type creates, the thundering type spreads. Swamiji was the thundering type who came to spread the message, and he was made to spread that message by Sri Ramakrishna, who was carefully grooming him to become Vivekananda later on. Every point he tested him and allowed himself to be tested by Sri Ramakrishna. And he said, you test me as a money changer tests a coin. He was extremely delighted. And what was Sri Ramakrishna's role in shaping Vivekananda? One of the greatest roles which he played was to see that Naren was in bondage. What is the role of a guru? The guru we know is Khandana Bhava Bandhana, Bhavasagara Tarana Karana. He is a person who removes your bondage, cuts your bondage, and takes you across the bondage of samsara. Here is a strange guru training a strange disciple and praying to Mother all the time, oh Mother, put some bondage into him, otherwise he will run away. Ascharyo Vakta Kushalusya Labdha Ascharyo Jnata Kushalanasishta in the Kathopanishad. A strange guru praying all the time that Naren should be put into bondage. Because the moment he realizes his own real nature, he will simply run away. And he was constantly praying to him. Some of his brother disciples perhaps knew the real nature of Swami Vivekananda. To some extent, we do not know. We are only guessing. One incident which I heard from Swami Kailashanandaji when I was a teenager in Madras Mutt. He said Swami Sharadanandaji was asked to speak on Swami Vivekananda on one such holy day, and it began his talk by reciting a couplet from Shiva Mahimna Stotram. Asitagiri samam syat kajjalam sindhu patre surataruna rashakha varashakha lekhani patra murvi likhati yadi grihitva sharada sarvakalam tadapi tava gunanamisha param nayati. Vagdevi Saraswati herself sits through and writes for eternity, using the entire earth as the paper and the celestial tree, the Kalpataru, one of the finest branches of the tree, as a pen, and the entire ocean itself is the ink pot, and the black mountain is the ink. Even then, O Lord, your glory can't be described. Once we asked Swami Bhuteshanandaji, what are these exaggerations? Because in Sanskrit, poetry is full of exaggerations. Swamiji used to call it oriental hyperbole. He himself was doing that all the time. Whenever Swamiji spoke, it will be in lakhs. 100,000 men and women will be walking Only 100. Number of zeros will be very large. Lakh and crore. We asked Bhuteshanji Maharaj, are they exaggerations? Are they rhetoric? Are they poetry? Are they literal? He smiled and said, do you mean to say these people did not know? They are literally true. They understood to some extent the glory of Swami Vivekananda, who is indescribable. Again I heard from Swami Kailashanandaji, Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivanandaji was speaking on Swamiji to his intimate disciples and devotees on one such day. It was late in the evening. He went on talking, and we could stop him. Finally, he suddenly realized that the disciples were very tired, some of them dozing off. Then it seems he said, you go and sleep. I can't sleep today. Aaj Shivaguna Ganu Kore Dhanna Hulum. Ami ar khumute parbo na. I cannot sleep today. I have become blessed by singing the glory of Shiva. Swami Turiyanandaji. Bhagavatam was being read in his presence. And incident in Uddhava says there's a story. The fish were playing with the reflection of the full moon in the waters. And happily they are playing. Suddenly when the sun rose, the reflection was gone. This little fish went to the fish mother, said, Mother, where is our playmate? Amader Khelar Shati Kothai Galo. Then the mother said, you foolish fellows, he was not your playmate at all. He belongs to the infinite, vast, unreachable heavens. In order to be compassionate to you, to grace you, he has come down, giving you the illusion that you are his playmate. When Turiyanji heard this, his eyes were moist, tears were trickling down his cheeks. People thought he is remembering Sriramakrishna. Then slowly he said, we also played with Swamiji, with Naren, how much we could play with him, have a lot of fun. Sakheti matva prasavam yaduktam, He Krishna, He Yadava, He Sakheti. Once again the same idea. How much we played. But how could we know what was his real nature? Then Turiyanji says, we thought he is one of us, only extraordinarily talented. How could we ever know that he was just not one of us? He was a class by himself. This was the realization which gave them the feeling that Swamiji is somebody apart. And Swami Vivekananda and Sriramakrishna are one and the same. How many times has Sriramakrishna said, Otavami, Itavami. That is also I and this is also I. Ami or Twiki Alada. A Bheda Buddhi Kano. Why are you having this difference? You and me are non-different. Remember that story? In Bangladesh, when Swamiji had passed away, they were keeping a picture of Swami Vivekananda by the side of Sriramakrishna and worshipping. Immediately there's a furor. Ramakrishna devotees are very conscious of all this. A complaint went to Mother. Mother, is it proper that the Guru and the disciple are put on the same pedestal and being worshipped? Mother heard and said, no, I don't think it is proper. We have one. Mother has completely accepted our stand. Then Mother slowly said, if Thakur had been there, he would have put him on his head. Mathaye kore rakhten, kole kore rakhten. Pashe boshiyeche. But it ekdam thik hoyni. So these are some glimpses which we get of how Mother, brother disciples looked upon Swami Vivekananda. And in the grooming of Swami Vivekananda, when he wanted to give him the highest Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Naren couldn't take it. He said, Mar Baap Maache, I am Vishwanath Datta's son. This is the peculiar play of the Mahamaya and the Leela of the Bhuvanamohini Maya, world bewitching Maya. Once again, as Ramakrishna was conceived by Swami Vivekananda as having come to validate the scriptures. His incarnation is to validate all the scriptural statements that they are true. They are realizable. You can see the parallel in the Kathopanishad, in the Shankara's Bhashya. We believe Shankara's Bhashya to be as good as the Upanishads themselves. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudhotmana prakashate drishyate tvagriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. This Atman which is hidden in all beings is not so easily seen and realizable, but it can be seen by an extraordinarily subtle buddhi, the medha dhi, by those who are habituated to seeing only subtle things. Sukshma darshibhi. They are commenting on this verse. Bhagavan Bhashyakara Shankaracharya says, Oho adhigambhira duravagahya vichitra jayam maya yadayam sarvo jantuho paramarthada paramatma satatvopi evam bodhyamanopi aham paramatmeti nagrinhati anuchyamanopi aham amushya putra iti grinhati. What strange, profound, unfathomable is this glory of this Maya, that although they have been taught by the scriptures, taught by the preceptor, the Acharya, that you are that infinite self. Normally people don't take themselves to be so. Although not being taught, anuchyamano api, they think I am so and so son, Amushya putra. You can see the parallel between Swamiji who said, I am Vishwanath Datta's son, what are you doing to me? Reenactment of the scriptures once again. Sriramakrishna wanted to make him accept Kali. That is the first step in the Ramakrishna Narendra sadhana, as Swami Buddhanandaji says. Because unless he comes to the level of Kali, he will not be able to do any work. Akhandeer khorer loke ek khanda jagote ante habe Kalir madhyame. Naren would not accept Kali. The tussle went on for a long time. Again and again he will say, no, I don't believe in all this. Father passed away, dire poverty. Sri Ramakrishna is watching the fun. Sri Ramakrishna is a very difficult person to deal with. Naren is crying and he is watching the fun. Finally Naren goes to Sri Ramakrishna and says, Ar Pachine, apni kichu korun, ma ke ekটু bolun na. My mother and my brothers are dying of starvation. I can't bear it anymore. Please tell your mother. Sri Ramakrishna caught him. Now come. তুই তো কালীকে মানিস না রে, জন্য হচ্ছে তুই গিয়ে বল. You don't accept Kali and that's why you're suffering. You go and tell. The innocent Naren is the most innocent of all people in the Ramakrishna Parimandala. Like a child he says, আমি তো ওকে চিনি না, আপনি জানেন, আপনি কথা বলুন, আপনি গিয়ে বলুন না. I don't know who mother is. You know her and you talk to her, please tell her. No, go and tell her. You know the famous incident? First time he forgot, asking for Viveka Vairagya and Bhakti Jnana. Second time again forgot. And what was Ramakrishna's reaction? He scolded him. Why? You could not remember this much? Again you go. See, once again look at the fun. The Guru will be happy if the disciple does not want anything worldly, but is asking for Jnana Vairagya and Bhakti. To others he says, you go to the emperor and ask for the pumpkin, Lavkumdu chaive, Rajarajeshwar gache giye. But here is a strange disciple who wants only Jnana Bhakti Vairagya, and Sri Ramakrishna is unhappy and scolding him. Go again. Finally he said, you will get the barest minimum. Then he wanted to be taught a song, Bhatmam Hi Tara. The whole night he sang the song, he was sleeping in the morning. Like a child, Sri Ramakrishna is telling everybody, Naren Kali meneche, Naren Kali meneche, the phalo hoiche na, Naren has accepted Kali, isn't it wonderful? People who came did not know who is Naren, who is Kali. He went on saying this, first step. Now Naren is caught in Kali. This is an esoteric and mystical thing in the Ramakrishna tradition. Only on Swami Vivekananda's birthday and Ramakrishna's birthday, Kali Puja is performed in the night. Ramakrishna's birthday, Dasha Mahavidya Puja, including Kali. Why we do not know. Kali worship is a special fad, although I don't normally preach it to others, Swamiji says. How I used to hate Kali, Swami Vivekananda says in one place. But he made me a slave of her. No, the thing which made me do it is a secret which shall die with me. Second step, Sri Ramakrishna is worried that he should accept Ramakrishna as the incarnation of Kali. Otherwise he will not do his work. He is trying again and again. So many people say so many things about me, about this place. What do you say? Naren immediately outright rejected. 100 people may say whatever they want, unless I see for myself I shall not accept. Sri Ramakrishna smiles and says, all right, come. On the other hand, Girish Chandra Ghosh, the dramatist, and Ramachandra Datta, the doctor, proclaiming openly in the streets of Calcutta that Ramakrishna is an avatar. What was Ramakrishna's reaction? Irritation. একজন ডাক্তার, একজন থিয়েটারি করে, ওরা নাকি বলছে আমি অবতার, ওর কি জানে হে? What do they know of Avatara? They talk about it. Here these two people proclaiming Ramakrishna is unhappy. Swami Vivekananda is not accepting he is unhappy. Finally he made him accept. The last moment of his life, terrible suffering out of cancer. He can't even speak, just about to pass away. Naren says, now if he says that I am an avatara, I will accept. The famous statement, even now you are doubting? He who was Rama and he who was Krishna in this body is Ramakrishna, not in your Vedantic sense. Did Swamiji accept it totally? No. That's interesting. Again, not that he did not accept, but is still not fully perhaps convinced. We can see the parallel in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, first shloka. Mohoyam vigato mama. My moha is gone. If moha is gone, why 7 more chapters were required? That means that which vigata will be agata also. The last chapter he says, Nashto moha smritir labdha tutprasadan mayachyuta. Nashto moha and vigata moha, two different things. Again, Naren ran to Bauhari Baba, the huge misunderstanding even among the direct disciples of Ramakrishna. Swami Premananda went to Ghazipur to bring him back. People thought Naren is completely deserted Ramakrishna and gone to Bauhari Baba. So much of misunderstanding about Naren only because Sri Ramakrishna completely covered him with ignorance so that he will work. Again, when he finally realized that Ramakrishna is without parallel and he realized his incarnation. We do not know what exactly he realized. He never told it to anybody. Sharat Chandra Chakravarti asks him, do you really believe that Ramakrishna is an avatara? Swamiji became serious. What do you mean by avatara? Oh, Buddha, Christ, Rama, Krishna. Swamiji says, I know that Ramakrishna is infinitely greater than all the names you just now mentioned. Let us not discuss it now. He never spoke about this because universally, but he knew who Ramakrishna was. In one place he says, in the Swami Shishya Sambhada, Kon Shakti Ramakrishna Rupe Avadirna Hoyeche Prithvi Ekono Jane na, Hoito Kokhono Jante Parbe na. What power came down on the earth in the form of Ramakrishna, the world does not know, perhaps will never know. And he knew his role in the Ramakrishna Leela. When slowly the veil was lifted, so many beautiful incidents were mentioned by Krishnanathananda ji. Every time when he was about to merge in the infinite, he was pulled back. Swami Satsvarupananda in the editorial in Prabhupada writes, whenever Swamiji cried, Mother, my play is done, break my bonds and make me free, he was brought back to his cup. The famous poem he wrote, The Cup. This is the cup assigned to thee from the beginning. What was the bondage that he was feeling? If he is Nityamukta and infinite, and he's realized his real nature through Nirvikalpa Samadhi, why does he say, break my bonds? That was because the bond which Ramakrishna thrust upon him for the good of the world. One weakness that Narendra had, the misery of the world. Whenever misery is shown to him, immediately he will melt. That Naren, who cried, Tumi Tribhuvananath, Ami Bhikharianath, Kemone bolibo tomai, Esho mama hridaye. That Brahma Samaj Narendranath, feeling himself is small, nothing before the infinite majesty of God, he was made to accept Advaita. Ashtavakra Samhita, Sriramakrishna put it under his pillow. When nobody was around, close the door, take the book, read this for me. Naren read a few lines and said, Irajara likheche oder mata kharab hoye geche. Ami abar Ishwara manbo na. I will not accept I am Ishwara, I am infinite. The rishis who have written this, they are all mad. Then Sriramakrishna said, you may not accept. Why do you call the rishis these names? Amarjanna Porna, Amito Murkho. This is Narendra, Nararishi. The moment you say it is not for me, for somebody else, he will do it. Till the Advaita went deep into him, he did not give it to anybody. Swamiji himself says. And transformed this Narendra into a paragon of Advaitis who claimed in the world the pulpit. Never forget the glory of human nature. Buddhas and Christs are by the waves in the infinite ocean which I am. Paraphrase from Ashtavakra. Mayyanantamaham bodho vascharyam jiva vichayaha udjanti ghananti khelanti pravishanti swabhavataha. I am that infinite ocean of consciousness on which so many different beings and worlds rise and fall and get merged. I am that infinite. Aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtam gireriva. That Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath who cried Ami Tribhuvananath, Ami Bhikharianath, says, I am that infinite ocean from whose waves Buddhas and Christ come. And finally he ended by saying, this is the climax of the whole Leela of the Naranarayana, Tasmat tvameva sharanam mamadina bandho yasmadaham tu asharano jagadeka gamya Tasmat tvameva sharanam mamadina bandho. I have no other refuge, O Lord. You are my only refuge. So you think of these various incidents and meditate on them. It's a highly elevating experience, the Leela Chintana. And this puzzle of the Naranarayana Leela, who was Vivekananda, why he said so many things. Even now people misunderstand Vivekananda for his contradiction. Then I tell them, look at the Gita. Second chapter he talks about the Jnana. Third chapter Arjuna is confused. Buddhi mohayasiva. Then fourth chapter he is calm. Fifth chapter again he is confused. So continuously this Naranarayana Leela goes on for our good. And Swamiji said while passing away, I may think it necessary to throw off my body like a worn-out garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. And at Belur Mutt, we have heard from senior Swamis that Swami Vivekananda lives and he can be seen and realized. Particularly we have heard from Swami Gambhiranandaji, from which our curiosity that, Maharaj, have you seen? He didn't say anything. Belur Mothe, Swamiji darshan paak sohaj. Thakure darshan kothin ache. It's very easy to intuit and realize Swami Vivekananda because of his compassion. You call him and immediately he comes. Because he is avatar of Karuna avatar. And like Shiva, anybody going and crying, shedding a few tears, immediately he comes to you. I will end with Shiva Stotra by Swamiji himself. Immediately, anybody suffering, he can even give his own life. Durita dalana daksham dakshaja datta dosham kalita kalikalankam kamrakha klarakantam narahi parahita charka karanaya prana pracheda pritam natanayana niyuktam nilakantham namamaha.